Hi folks, welcome back to the Tabletop's Edge. This is another update, and this one will be even shorter than the last one. I have, since the last installment in this series, I've actually finished the Airborne module, and since I kind of teased you a little bit by showing you what the situation was immediately after the resolution of the drop, I didn't want to leave you hanging, so to speak, and thought I would at least show you how the situation looks at the end of the Airborne module and immediately prior to starting the amphibious landing module. What we're looking at here is the western sector with the two American airborne divisions having dropped. The airborne module consists essentially of the resolving the paradrops, and then you will have an Allied movement combat movement, then combat step, German movement combat, then a second Allied movement and combat, and a second German movement and combat. But the movement is fairly restricted, especially on the German side. There are only a limited number of units that actually activate. The combat is very streamlined, and at least in my experience this time through the module, much less bloodier than I think the standard combat system is. The Germans in this part of the front have actually only lost two artillery batteries, both of which are from the same battalion, and the Americans have lost no company-sized units so far. Other than, I think, just that one attack on the artillery battery, all of the combats have essentially just resulted in a retreat of one hex by whoever lost the fight. Now, what we're looking at here, the 101st, you can see there are still several companies trying to regroup here on the LZs. The 2nd of the 501st Battalion is actually complete with all three steps down here just north of Carentan, and the 3rd of the 501st has all three companies right here as well. However, they are facing a full-strength 3rd Battalion of the 1058th Grenadier Regiment from 91st Infantry Division. They are stacked with an 88 flak battery from, or a company actually, from the 3rd Flak Corps, and then behind them in Carentan itself is 1st Battalion of the 6th Fallschirmjäger. So despite having a good drop and being able to get reorganized fairly quickly, the Americans down here are actually a little bit outnumbered with the defenders, and the defenders have the advantage of some kind of nasty terrain to defend in, with a couple of rivers to cross and clear hex there, but then that's before you even get to the city. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes the 101st to push in and finally capture Carentan. I don't think it's going to happen terribly quickly. The rest of the area here, you can see there's some scattered German companies mixed in with the rest of the 101st. The Germans are still pretty much in firm control of all the exits off of Utah Beach. Further west out here in the 82nd, both General Gavin and Ridgway have moved back to the two drop zones here where there are quite a number of guys milling about. They have moved there to sort of expedite the regrouping of these fog of war units. A leader that is stacked on a drop zone will increase the number you need to roll equal to or less than in order to successfully regroup a fog of war unit into an actual company. So they've pulled back here to try and get the rest of the division up. The companies that have regrouped have moved out to the west here and are starting to form a bit of a line to the west to try and protect this this bridgehead here to the west. There are a number of fog of war units here on the 3rd drop zone that are attempting to regroup. You can see this lone battery still sits here in Saint-Mère-Église, and it'll be interesting to see basically what happens now after the amphibious invasion and we start getting into regular G.O.S.S turns out here. See if the American paratroopers are going to be able to kind of exploit what I think was a overall pretty good drop. Let's take a look and see how the British did. Over in the British sector, there's not too much to talk about. The initial drop was so poor and the division so widely scattered that most of the units spent the entire airborne stage just trying to get back to one of the LZs to try to regroup. And the large stacks we see here on 2 of the LCs are a good indication of just how few companies are actually in action at this point for 6th Airborne Division. Really, the only 2 objectives they did manage to achieve during the airborne landing stage was the capture of both the Orne Canal and Orne River bridges here, as well as taking out the Merville battery up near Franceville Plage. However, when they tried to push further north towards the beach there, they were repulsed in the attack, and you can see the German infantry companies from 716th Infantry Division in the area have actually pushed the paratroopers back a little bit closer to the drop zone up here. Over to the east, we have a few more scattered companies here trying to get into some good defensive terrain to keep the British from reaching the bridges over the Deves River here to the east. We have some more elements of the 711th Infantry Division, and the Germans want to make sure the bridges are intact, allowing them to get into the action here. Further south, you see the 21st Panzer Division, or really kind of a reinforced regiment of the 21st Panzer Division, trying to form some kind of a cordon here to hem in the British paratroopers. They're not strong enough really to start making any attacks on the paratroopers at this time. That's probably going to wait for the rest of the division, particularly the armor companies, to show up. But right now, the armor companies are just off the map here to the east in Lisieux, and you can see them here on the strategic map. So I don't know yet when they will activate. I would anticipate it would be probably fairly soon. So for the Germans' sake, I hope they can get some of that 21st Panzer armor on the map shortly, and they'll be coming in either, I think it's here or here, and then heading west to deal with the paratroopers. So that's it for the airborne landing module. It took me about probably about 4 hours to work all the way through it, but I would say experienced G.O.S.S players could get through that module in 2 hours, maybe a little less. I had just a great time with it, and like I said, if it's a foreshadow of what G.O.S.S as in general holds, I think G.O.S.S really is going to turn out to be an excellent system. But now we are moving on to the amphibious landing stage, and that means we're going to leave the main map here for that stage, and we are going to be dealing with the beach display here, as well as the 2 amphibious landing displays, one for the Americans and then one for the Commonwealth down there for the Commonwealth beaches. I'm going to work through that. I've read the rules. Again, it seems to be a well-written, well-organized section of the rules, just like the airborne module was, and I don't anticipate having any difficulties working through it. I'm really kind of curious to see how it plays out. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll give you another update here on the amphibious module and see how things go. Take care. We'll see you next time.